I want you to please welcome Paula Pritchard.
Anyway, welcome for being here. I know many of you probably don't know of me or know me because I have to tell you, a number of these speakers I'm not even familiar with. And when they asked me to speak here with you, the first thing I said was no, because I imagined that from the direction I could see that most of the people here would probably be in their 20s with computers in front of them, not really wanting to hear from someone like me on how to build a business offline. And so they said, no, Paula. They know that how to bring people in the business through offline. They need to know how to build duplicatable systems and start to show people how to build businesses beyond that, or how to build a business. So I'm not totally offline. I mean, I am on Facebook. I really believe that was designed to really create more things for me to do. And I don't know if anybody else feels that way. I have a Twitter account. I've never used it. I do know how to text, and I do love Skype. I love video webinars. So it's been a great tool, great invention, and very appreciative for that. So because I don't know you, I do want to say this. I know that, when I speak to audiences, some of you are here and you're so excited. And you are a great audience, because I was here yesterday listening to you, and I thought, oh my gosh, they are so full of energy. And speakers only as good as the audience. I mean, I've even stopped if I didn't have a good audience, and I told them if they were excited, they needed to notify their face. But I mean, if you are excited, and if you are, you are a great group. And I know that many of you came here because you're excited, everything's going great. And all you need is these speakers just to entertain you. So I'm sure you'll get a lot of that this weekend. Although others have come here because they're stuck. And this is my specialty, when you're stuck. And to try to help you figure out, because nobody's been as stuck as many times as I have. And there probably isn't any problem that you have that I haven't experienced. So I love to delve in and try to unstick people. So I hope that I can say something that helps you, and I will delve in and help any way I can. With that, let me just share a little bit of my story. I'm from Ohio. Go Bucks. And there's one Buckeye here. Wow. And one, wow. And I taught at Kent State University, and that's my formal background. Most people don't know anything about Kent. There used to be a time when people say, were you there when? And I'd say no. And now they say, when what? So I really feel old. And yes, I went to Kent. I was actually introduced to network marketing while I was almost finished with my PhD. In fact, the person that introduced me to network marketing was another professor, a colleague, and or introduced me to network marketing. And that company was Amway. And I didn't know what network marketing was. In fact, they called it multi-level marketing at that time. I didn't know what Amway was. All I knew is that this person asked me if I wanted to make some extra money during the summer. And I said yes, because I was ambitious, and I got involved, put the kit in the trunk of the car for a week, because I wasn't sure if anybody was going to give me their opinion, and I didn't really want to hear any opinion. I decided I would just go ahead and do it. And I was involved with network marketing back when network marketing wasn't really popular. So the journey I've traveled has been a really tough one, and but I am who I am today because of that journey. And I was in Amway when people could say Amway and vomit all at the same time. You're an Amway. They could even emphasize Amway. And I saw them fight to keep network marketing alive when the FTC wanted to shut it down. But many people don't realize franchising came 11 votes from being outlawed at one time. And now franchising is a very successful way of life and way of doing business. So anyway, when I started out, it wasn't too long till my sponsor quit a few weeks into it. And then his sponsor quit about 2 or 3 months later. And then my third upline was a professor who was very arrogant, somebody I didn't really want to work with. And then the next person up, 4 up from me, was he was an insurance salesman, and they didn't know ADD then, but I'm sure he had it. And so I ended up working with a guy that was 5 levels up from me. Now I want you to understand something. Some of your greatest success, some of your strongest people will come from depth. You know, I happen to be a seeker. I happen to be someone who climbed up the ladder to try to get help. Not everyone will do that, and so sometimes you have to reach down and let them know you're there. But needless to say, being the teacher I am, I tried to reinvent the wheel. In the first 15 months, I went nowhere. And what was so frustrating was the people who would pass me up, who had less skill, less knowledge, less know-how, but they just followed what they were told and they did it. And so, you know, about that 15th month was a turning point for me. You know, I felt I was going to do it. I felt I could go to the top. I was trying to reach a goal, and for some reason my group went to sleep. I don't know if anybody's had that happen to you, but my group went to sleep, and I was debating on quitting. And you know, I'm a big believer now that if you haven't wanted to quit about every other month, something's wrong. You're not really working hard enough. And back then, I wanted to quit a lot, all the time. And I'll never forget, I was sitting in front of Dunkin' Donuts, and you know, you have these moments in your life that are real turning points. And I was sitting in front of Dunkin' Donuts, and I was wallowing in my, you know, having like a pity party for myself. And I can remember looking in the rearview mirror and deciding I could never look at myself as a failure. And so I decided I was going to do this business, but I was going to be different. And I went to every training I could go to. I took notes. I would attach a tape recorder to the end of my hand, and I would tape everything. And, you know, I learned a long time ago to follow the person who is where you want to be. And so I would follow that person everywhere they went. If they were speaking to a group of people, I'd stick my hand in there. And, you know, even if they were, I'd then go home and transcribe the tape. Even if they were talking where to go to dinner, I felt one sentence could change my business. So you might come here this weekend, and you might think, gee, I haven't gotten anything yet. And I always say, well, what did you bring to put it in? Even if it's a notepad. You know, you've got to pick up one sentence can change your business. That time when I was really depressed, the one thing that was said to me by this upline is he said, Paula, if your group doesn't excite you, you have the wrong group. And I'll never forget sitting there thinking, what does he mean, the wrong group? I spent 15 months getting this group. How can this be the wrong group? And if I go and do it again, how will I know if it's the right group? Isn't that I thought, what a stupid statement. And then the more I thought about it, I thought, excite me? What does he mean, excite me? I'm exciting them. All I do is call them up. You got to get this meeting, got to get this meeting, got to get there. Come on, you can do it, you can do it, you can do it. And I get them up, pumped up for about a day or two, and then they're back down again. And so, but you know, that sentence changed everything. And I understood it later, because what happened is I made a decision that I was going to do this thing. You know, I was going to climb to the top of the mountain or be dead on the side. I was not going to quit. And so I started out, and I thought I was committed, but I started out with a different attitude. And I can't tell you how important that was, because I adopted a saying which was kind of like, first of all, if it is to be, it's up to me. And I plastered it everywhere. And then when I would talk to people, I would say, listen, I'm going to the top with this thing. I'd like you to go with me, but either way, I'm still going. And all of a sudden, everybody started joining. And I think it was because of the fear of loss. They thought I was going to do it without them, and if they didn't hang on, they were going to be left behind. So that changed everything. And I have to tell you, from that, after that 15 months, my business soared. I eventually asked to get out of my contract. My life has been amazing. I've traveled the world, had exotic trips. I don't care whether it's to Monte Carlo or Barcelona or Rome or Paris or wherever. I've traveled the world. I've driven the cars. My favorite passion is motor coaches. I've had the motor coaches. I still do have a huge motor coach. I love it. Lived in the houses. Had the opportunity to create lots and lots of success stories. And even got an invitation to the White House, believe it or not. So, I mean, you never know. Lived in Europe for a while. You never know where network marketing is going to take you. And had I quit, the lives that would have been affected would be unbelievable. And so if you're one of those people that have thought about quitting, please, please, don't quit. Just hang in there and keep on keeping on. So let me give you one of the things when I was starting to build is I always used to think to myself, why don't they have an owner's manual on how network marketing works? Because I wanted to crack the code. I wanted to know, how does this work? Like the quick guide when you get a TV or something. And so what I want to do for you is just kind of crack the code. So the first thing I want you to know, I'm going to go fast because I have a lot to cover, but I want you to understand that you need to understand the business you're in. You know, you're in the distribution business. You're in the distribution business. You know, if you own a McDonald's restaurant, you could only make as much money as hamburgers you could sell in one 24-hour period of time. You know, they're in the hamburger distribution business. You're in the whatever product you have distribution business. But if you had 10 McDonald's, you could make money while you were sleeping. That's leveraging your time. What your goal is to create multiple McDonald's, create multiple outlets. You do that, you'll make a fortune. And it's not important what other people think. Other people's opinions are irrelevant, and they will stop you in their tracks. You know, I never hear somebody say, oh, you're a hairdresser. Oh, no, you're a hairdresser? Or you're a real estate person? But, you know, for some reason, when you say you're in a network marketing company, it like gives them a right to give you their opinion. And you have to understand that most people want to keep you in mediocrity. And you need to understand that from the get-go. You know, when I would have fear, and I wrote a lot about fear, but when I would have fear of what other people thought, I would think about the people on the stage, and I would think, whose opinion really matters? And it was their opinion. I wanted them to respect me. I wanted them to welcome me to their ranks. I wanted to be like them. So their opinion would be they would admire my persistence. They would admire the journey I took because they would know what it took to get up here. And so once I switched whose opinion was important, everything changed for me. Oops. Okay. So you need to reprogram. This is not a hobby. This is a serious business. And you can seriously affect other people's lives in the world we live in if you go out there and change them one at a time. So let's talk first about a little bit of the facts about this business. Number one, there are only two ways to make money. You need to show the product and you need to show the business. Whether you do it online or offline, you got to do it one way or the other because that's the only way you can build a business like this. So anyway, you need to evaluate every day on how many times you showed the business. No is a requirement. You get paid for rejection. The only reason I'm up here is I've heard more no's than you, plain and simple. Understand yeses and no's are equal. So if I show a computer and I'm going to make $100 when I sell it, and I show it to the first person, they say no, the second person says no, the third person says 9 say no, the 10th one says yes. I did not make $100 on the 10th person. I made $10 every time I showed the computer. When you understand that, you will understand every time you're showing this business, you're making money. And if you do it enough, you can cash in eventually. You know, that I tell people, you know, if you're fearful of that no, you know, then you need to like put on a psychological suit of armor. You know, that's, you know, invincible to arrows, to no's, to bullets, to whatever. The other fact is that numbers are a requirement. When I was in a statistics course at Ohio State University, an undergraduate, they had an auditorium as big as this. And the professor at the front was explaining statistics, that it was a science, and talked about the Nielsen ratings and the election polls and how real it was and how predictable it was. And then he said, I'm going to name a date, and there'll be so many people that have a birth date on that date. And he named the date, and he nailed it. And I can remember sitting in network marketing, in a network marketing meeting. There was probably 1,000 people there, and I was like a peon in the back, watching all these hot shots come across the stage in that day. And I can remember thinking, I don't think I can do this. How could I ever be successful? I don't know what they know. I'm not who they are. I'm not as slick. I'm not as poised. And I was sitting back there, and that statistics course came in my mind. And I thought, wait a minute. If I do the numbers and the ratios, I could be successful here. So I started to look at all the people I had shown the business to, and I looked at the ratios. And I eventually got myself 1 out of 3. For every 3 people I talked to, one wanted to see the business. For every 3 that wanted to see the business, 1 got involved. For every 3 that got involved, 1 did something. So all of a sudden, I could start to control my numbers and create my own success. And when I figured it out and I cracked that code and I was on the stage, all I wanted to do is tell everyone in the audience what the secret was, which in my opinion, the secret to success in network marketing is understanding the numbers and pushing through your own numbers. And then last of all, to know that the highest paid skills are recruiting and promoting. You know, I've analyzed a lot of people in network marketing, some of the top earners, and I'm going to tell you, some of the top earners are not the best presenters. Some of the top earners are not even the best trainers. But boy, are they good at recruiting. And they are specifically good at the invitation. So if you're going to learn recruiting, and I know how to learn, I went to school forever. If you can learn and study the invitation, you can be a master in this business. I'm going to touch on the invitation in a minute. The other one, the highest paid, least understood skill is promoting. Getting you to this event was a task of promoting. And I'm going to tell you, Ray and Fernie did a great job. And I mean, that's a skill. But if you know, I can't tell you how many times I've sponsored people, I couldn't get them off square one, but I got them to an event so they could hear someone like you. And it turned them around. Had I not promoted the event, they wouldn't have been there. Let's talk about recruiting. Okay, 80% of recruiting is in preparation. And I'm going to put these 4 things up here because I want you to understand it's learning the skills. If this is a serious business, you need to learn it. This is not like the real world where you go to college, you study, you take a test, eventually you graduate, you get a degree, and then somebody hires you. We have a lot of learned, broke people in network marketing because they came to a lot of trainings, took the notes, and did nothing because they were conditioned to learn and everything was going to happen for them. So let me explain something. If you were going to learn how to play ice hockey, you go out there, you fall a few times, get up a few times. Eventually, you start to have confidence in what you were doing because you did it enough. You'd start to develop the skill. You'd start to have some belief in yourself. And then that confidence would show in posture. Posture is the way you carry yourself. When I understood how important posture was, I pretended that I was the president of the Chase Manhattan Bank. And I would say, okay, how would the president walk, talk, dress, shake hands? How would they lean back versus leaning forward? How would they present themselves? And you know, it was almost like I could have won an Academy Award because of that acting job. But eventually it became me. And then goals. You know, people used to say, Paula, put your goals on a refrigerator. Put your goals on the mirror. But you know, when you don't reach them, it's just as easy to take them down as it was to put them up. You need to internalize your goals. What is it that you want? Internalize it. How is it not getting the car, but how will it feel when you drive it? How's it going to feel when you pull up in the driveway of those people that told you it wouldn't work? How's it going to feel when you get the keys to that new house and you open the door and you tell the kids to go pick their own room? How are you going to feel? And you know, all those no's that you get that kind of set you back, I want you to understand when you're on these trips and when you're driving those cars, it's hard to remember their names. So, and then as far as vision, you just need to work on that. Well, thank you. You know, vision is one of those things that, you know, when you tell the business story, it all has to do with what the vision is up here. If you have a teeny-weeny vision, you're going to tell a teeny-weeny story. You know, if you have a big vision, you're going to tell a big story. So you need to get that right. You know, this is part of your preparation. If you think you're going to go out there without being prepared and just go out and hit it and be successful, you're in for a rude awakening. The process is really only 20%. And, you know, getting your contacts is a flowing thing. You're constantly meeting contacts. You're constantly pulling in contacts from all different sources, whether it's from ads, whether it's from direct mail, whether it's from the internet, whether it's from Facebook, whether it's just going out and meeting people. You're constantly filling that funnel. I love that concept. And, You know, it's ever flowing because I want you to understand people right now need a solution. You know, I'm part of that baby boomer generation, and I want you to understand that a lot of my generation lost their pensions during the stock market slide about 10 years ago. And some of them think they're not going to retire at 65, they have to wait till 85. And you know, if they wait and hold those jobs, the younger generation can't move up into those jobs. They have to find other solutions. So, I mean, there are people out there that need a solution. Keep a running list. Now, on your computer, wherever, you know, just keep a running list and constantly be adding to it. And that's one of the things that I've done really well, because I'm going down there. I want you to know that when I go through, I'm constantly updating and adding to who I've talked to, who I've got, you know, in different phases of the pipeline, looking at different parts of the business. Non-issues, I want to talk about non-issues for a second. You know, one of the things I hate about people's opinion in network marketing is that you have to talk to your family and friends. I never talked to my family and friends. Are you kidding? They didn't qualify. A number of them. They didn't. And so people think, well, when you do it offline, you're talking to family and friends. You know, 10 years ago, I bought internet leads. I was never good at ads. I hated it. I hated direct mail. I hated ads. I wasn't good at leads on network marketing. I figured I should come here. Maybe I always like to stay current. Maybe there's ways I can get better at this Facebook thing. But at the end of the day, I managed to talk to people. And I wasn't always, necessarily outgoing. I would just listen. I'm good at listening. And when people would tell me what their wants were or what their hopes and dreams were, I would listen. And then I would come back with a solution. Warm and cold, that's all kind of a crazy thing. I mean, even when I meet people, the goal is to move them to the warm. Whether I meet them online, whether I would meet them through Facebook, whether I'd meet them face-to-face, is to move them in that direction. Focus on qualifications. You know, understand that only 50% of the population are available to you. Only 50% of the population are hardwired to be entrepreneurs. And I will remind you that the other 50%, those 50% that aren't, a lot of them get in your business anyway, and they drive you crazy. So 50%. So I'm looking for people who are entrepreneur-driven, people who want to own their own business. I'm looking for people who meet a qualification. They're self-starters. They're ambitious. They're positive. I was on the phone yesterday doing a three-way with a guy, and he was talking about selling, how good it was at selling, and he just couldn't get beyond the fact that, I'm not trying to get money out of people's pocket. I'm trying to put money in people's pocket. It's a whole different concept. So me drawing people to me who want money in their pocket is a lot easier than me going out and trying to sell things. So, I said to him, if I was going to build a restaurant and I was bringing on 5 partners, I'd want those 5 partners to have restaurant experience, either ran a restaurant, worked in a restaurant, cooked in a restaurant, ran employees. If they didn't have restaurant experience, had business experience, knew how to run a business, or I had marketing skills so we could market our restaurant. I wouldn't go to my neighbor and say, I need you as my partner in my restaurant. So why do we do that in network marketing? They used to teach years ago the 3-foot rule. And they used to also teach, if they fogged a mirror, that's the one you want. That's not how I build it. I'm looking for people who qualify. So I have to ask a number of questions. So let me, when you do your invitation, whether online or offline, I want to say, the invitation, as far as I'm concerned, is the gold mine. You master the invitation, you can be wealthy. And whether you master it online or offline, it doesn't matter. You master it and create the curiosity, you are home free. So I wanted to share with you just a couple things that I do. I'm going to give you a couple invitations. I try to focus on people's wants and solutions to things in their life. And the reason I do that is because I know that people are more concerned about themselves than they are me. They're more concerned about themselves and their family than anything else. So I need to appeal to that. Sometimes people run up and say, hey, I found a way we can make a lot of money. But you're leaving things to chance. What if that day they're their son put a ball through somebody's glass window, and next thing, or let the dog out, and next thing, did something that the dog bit somebody. Now they've got problems, or maybe they had a big leak in their house that their insurance won't cover, and now they got to pay. And you say money, and all they're thinking about, I've got to put the money towards that, when in reality, what they really wanted was a sports car, or what they really wanted was to travel more. So I always go for that sports car. I always go for the travel. I always go, if they hate their job, then I've got a solution, a way to get out of it. So I created, years ago, I used to have a stack of invitations. When you were in Amway, it was quite an education. I mean, we'd have invitations piled this high. We'd have how to answer objections piled this high. I mean, you had to learn, if somebody said this is what you said. If somebody said that, this is what you said. And it got to the point where it's just overwhelming. Who could ever learn that? So about 25 years ago, I created 3 different scripts, and I want to share them with you. The first one was a direct approach. And you can, and this is what I would do, and I had to learn offline because we didn't have online then. So what I learned is how to talk to people. And who I am today is because of that education. And I have to tell you, you could drop me in any city in this country where I know no one, and I could build a business because of that education. So direct was pretty much simply this: I wanted this person. So I had 4 steps I went through, and I want to share those 4 with you. The first one's called intro. The second one's called want. The third one's called lock in. And the fourth one's called close. And you can teach this because you have got to build a duplicatable system. When you bring people on board, through the internet or not through the internet, you have got to have a duplicatable system that they can follow. Because I want you to understand, people are conditioned to be told what to do. Think about it. From the time you're a kid, they told you when to put on your socks, brush your teeth, be down for breakfast, go to school, what classes to attend, when you could have recess, when you could have break, when you could go home. Even when you had a job, they told you the same thing. This is when you come to work, this is when you leave, this is when you have a coffee break, this is when you can go on vacation, this is how long you can be gone. And then all of a sudden they get in network marketing and somebody says, you're in business for yourself, isn't that great? And they don't know what to do. So they need systems, they need to be told what to do. So what I did in this is I created just a general direct invitation. I want that person. So if I know what it is they want, and I work that from my working list, I know what people's wants are. What's their hot button? Do they want out of their job? Do they want to scuba dive and they live in Ohio and they can't get very far because they only have a week's vacation? Or do they want, do they want to get out of credit card debt? Do they want to pay off their home? So I would say to them on the intro, hi, this is Paula. I'm running out the door, or I only have a minute. And I did that for a specific reason. The reason I did it is because when I did that, if they start to ask me questions, I could get on and off the phone really quick. I'd say, I'd love to talk about that. That's what I want to get together for, but I have to be here, I have to be there. So the intro is critical. And I designed this because I knew that most people worked full-time jobs. And so when they'd come home, after they spent time with their family and had dinner, they'd only have maybe an hour to be on the phone. The idea was to get them on and off the phone within 3 minutes, to set appointments. So what I would do, again offline, what I would do is I would say, this is Paula, I've only got a minute. You told me you wanted this, you wanted out of your job. Were you serious or were you kidding around? That's the lock-in statement. And then I'd say, I think I got a way you can have it. I can't go into it now. When do you have some uninterrupted time we can talk? I want to run an idea past you. And I could do this to somebody I knew and somebody I didn't know. And I understand here from the information you gave me through the internet that you would like to pursue a different career, or you would like to own your business. Were you serious or were you kidding around? All right, and I could say, I think I might have a way, I'm not sure. When do you have some uninterrupted time? And at which point, uninterrupted means no kids, no phones, no TV, when we can talk. And that's, I would set up that appointment. I always kept the invitation and the presentation separate. Whether I'm sending them to someplace or whether I always kept them separate because it elevated the business. The other kind of invitation I would do would be called an indirect. This was indirect. I built massive business with indirect. In fact, when I lived in Ohio, the company I was with was expanding to the United Kingdom, and I asked everyone I knew, who do you know in the United Kingdom? And because I'm expanding a business there. And I had so many referrals that within 12 months, I had a business that was doing over $1 million in volume every month, just based on referrals, not knowing anyone. So here's how that works. Same intro, only it comes with a question. Who do you know? It's an open-ended question, not a closed-ended question. Open-ended is who do you know requires a name. Closed-ended is do you know anyone, which can be yes or no. So it's always who do you know. Hi, this is Paula. Listen, I've only got a minute. I called you for a reason. I'm expanding a business to Georgia or California or wherever. It could mean this much money, mean an extra $7,000 to $9,000 a month. Who do you know that would like to be in business for themselves? You'd be amazed how many people will say, well, how about me? Or would you consider expanding into Ohio or Florida, wherever I am? And I built massive businesses based on referral invitation. As far as the presentations, whether they're online or offline, and the follow-up, let me say something a little bit about the follow-up, probably more than anything, is, the invitation is your first ego risk, because the invitation is the first possible point you could get a no. Whereas the follow-up is your second ego risk, because that's the next place you could get a no. And I find there's a huge breakdown in the follow-up. So when I get back to people, and I used to make a joke about how people could put off asking for a yes or no, dragging it on forever. And understand this, and this is a very important point. How you invite somebody to see the business is their first training. So how you invite them, how you approach them, they're going to evaluate your business based on that. So if you're attacking them, if you're trying to coax and convince them, they're going to think, gee, I love that opportunity, but if I have to coax and convince people like this person's doing to me, if I have to sell other people on this like they're doing to me, I wouldn't want to do that, so I'm going to tell them no. And you'll never know that the real reason you got to know was the way you approach them. Did you have the posture? Were you sitting back? Were you interviewing them? Or were you selling them? If your opportunity is so great, why do you have to sell them? I used to talk years ago about when you go to a job interview, and you're probably a little nervous. You might want to look nice or practice a little bit what you think they're going to ask you at that interview. But I mean, if you were at a job interview and you knew it was a company you wanted, say a Fortune 500 company, and you wanted to work there, and then all of a sudden, halfway through the interviewer climbs over the table, grabs you by the throat and says, please take this job, would it put you back? Sure it would. It would put you back, because you'd say, gosh, what's wrong with the company? But we do that when we present. We either do it, we oversell on the phone, we oversell face-to-face. We need to assume a posture, take control, look for the qualifications. The difference between you and the people on the stage might be just the 6 inches between your ears. And the point on how they approach, how they hold themselves in their posture. So in the follow-up, I'm always trying to move it towards the close. What more information do you need to make a decision? What more information do you need to make a decision? It's the best one. I have tons of them, but that's the best one. Understand that duplication will determine if you build a walkaway income or an income dependent on your presence. I learned a long time ago that success was not how many times I was on the stage. Success was how many times my people were on the stage. If I can have as many people as possible on the stage, and I can sit back there and just yell and cheer and hoop and holler for them, that's all I want to do. So, in order to do that, you need to put together duplicatable systems. Years ago I learned that I was reading an article that explained that only 1% of the population can be in business for themselves. 3% of the population can be in business for themselves with a supervisor. which means that 96% of the population cannot be in business for themselves. They need somebody to follow. They need a system to follow. They need somebody to tell them what to do. So, one of the reasons that I put tools together was to create duplicatable systems that my people could follow. So let me start here. Your goal is simply this: to help get them in, and your systems need to provide that. To help keep them in, because there will be times they want to quit, and then to help move them forward. So when you put duplicatable systems together, understand the reasons that you do that is because everything it's duplicable. But in network marketing, we call it duplicatable, even though there isn't a word like that. So I have to really work hard to say it right. But, we put them together to avoid confusion. We put them together to make it easy for people to learn. And also not only easy to learn, but easy to teach. And then we try to create systems that they can plug into. And we try to highlight them along the way while they're doing it. Plug-in systems would include your recruiting. Recruiting's changed so much. The presentation is so versatile. I mean, I can give somebody a CD. I can send them to my website. I can do a video presentation on the computer. There's so many ways to present the business now and so many ways to recruit. So it's expanded in so many directions, but we try to have systems that are duplicatable, whether they're belly to belly or whether they're long distance, or whether they're online or whether they're offline. You have the systems in place. And that's something that I've worked hard to create. Presentations, follow-up, call to action, all of those, you need to have duplicatable systems for all of it. Training and coaching, you need to have your training systems in place. I love training on webinars. I love that. I love the being on the video. I love Skype. Now with the iPad, you can walk around and you can just talk to them anywhere, whether I'm in my coach running the country or wherever. I can be face to face with that person and building relationships and glue, because I'm going to tell you that's the key to major success, is putting in the glue. And you've got to put in that glue. You've got to get face to face somehow. You've got to be in communication with them somehow. And so in your trainings, in your recognition, we have coaching calls, we do training calls, we do numerous coaching calls, we have leadership development. That takes place in my business. I'm always on the phone with my leaders every Monday morning, and various leadership calls that I'll do even throughout the month. Events, whether you have online or offline, you need plenty of events, because if people have too long by themselves to think about wanting to quit, they probably will. And then you also need places for people to get recognized, because recognition is critical. I can remember one time I was in someone's living room and there was this little bowling trophy. It must have been about that high. And I was fortunate throughout my youth. I had a lot of trophies, a lot of success. And my first thought was, isn't that funny? And thank God I didn't say that. I said, oh, well, what is that? And they said, oh, it's a bowling trophy that I earned on a bowling team. It's the only recognition I've ever had in my life. And I was so excited when they did that to me. And it just hit me like a brick. My gosh. People, what is that Napoleon said? People will go to the ends of the earth for a blue ribbon. If you understand how important it is to matter, to be important. And this is a great vehicle for doing that. And finally, I want to talk just for a second here about two things that I think are critical to your success. One is decision. Indecision and indifference will kill you. I mean, indecision will keep you in a status quo. It will absolutely sabotage your business. And I tell people that indecision, for the most part, is your biggest enemy. In fact, I can remember years ago learning that indecision was the biggest cause of depression. So anytime I would ever start to feel down, I think to myself, what is it? What decision have I not made that has put me in this state? And the minute I would discover it and make a decision, everything would change. So, with me in front of that Dunkin' Donuts, when I made that decision and I committed, it was like the world aligned with me. It wasn't too long after that, I got a call from someone I sponsored, Lily Mickler. I'll never forget. Lily says, will you do a meeting in Cleveland Heights for Les and Delois Sims? And I went up there to their home to do a meeting, and of course it was a Saturday night. Wouldn't you know, somebody's having parties and the street's full and hard place to park, and I'm kind of, grumping about that. Turned out everyone on that street were coming to my meeting. I mean, I was flabbergasted, and everyone got involved, and they asked if I would come back the next night and do the same thing. And I believe to this day that success, they went to the top. I had a professor who got in the business who sponsored Dennis and Paula Rhodes, did the same thing, went to the top. I always tell people I believe that is directly because of this woman named Wendy Gaylord, who I worked really hard with, who did nothing. And I believe that, I believe in the law of reciprocity. It all comes back. It just doesn't necessarily come back in the same places. But when you make a decision, when you step off the curb, things will align for you like you can't imagine. And then the last thing is discipline. I heard someone talking about discipline yesterday, and I want you to know it can be your greatest ally. The key to my success was I made the calls day in and day out. I made them when it was raining. I made it when it was snowing. I made it when I was sick. I made the calls when no one was watching. I made the calls. And today, I'm where I am because I made the calls even when I didn't feel like making the calls. And that's what you have to do. The biggest benefit of discipline is self-esteem. It's just like when you stayed on the diet and you lost the weight. It's just like when you wanted to build the muscle and you kept going to the gym. All of a sudden, your self-esteem grew because you conquered you. Some of you have big goals and dreams out there, and you are just a decision away from them, and all you need to do is apply discipline to make it happen. I don't know what your goal is. It doesn't matter. Don't base your goals on if so-and-so does this, or if the stars align in this way, or don't base it on what other people think. It's not important what other people think, whether you can do it or not. I'm a big believer, if the goal's big enough, the facts don't count. There isn't any problem that any of you have today that 20 new people wouldn't solve. You just need to go out and find them. Thank you. Years ago, when I was sitting in front of that Dunkin' Donuts, I was looking for the secret to success. And all the time, the secret for success was within me. And I never thought to look there. And there is within you everything you need to be successful. Everything. You just need to start believing in yourself. You need to start to follow the path, because your life has a purpose. If I look back on my life, had I quit at Dunkin' Donuts, you cannot imagine the lives it would have affected. You can't believe the millionaires and the houses that have been paid off because I stuck in the thing. And sometimes you don't understand the journey. Sometimes you don't understand the disappointments. Sometimes you don't understand the pain that you're going through until you follow this path. And then when you get towards the end, you understand what the real reason was. And I'm going to tell you, you got a real path and a real reason. So go out there and change some lives. Thank you.
For a free 10-day online recruiting bootcamp to dive deep into rejection-free sponsoring methods using the internet, click the link above or go directly to elitemarketingpro.com/go. I'll see you there.